So guys, this webinar is about the third level graduate program. Many of you are going to know this third level graduate program as the stay back visa. So students love to call it this way, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit. So let's start the slides. Can you all see my slides? Can somebody just put a thumbs up for me so I can confirm that you can see it and hear me well? Perfect. Thank you so much. So welcome you all. This is me. I am Lara, the Student Immigration Support Officer or Advisor. This presentation is for you guys from UCD, students and staff, and it will last around 35-40 minutes. I do tend to speak a lot, but I always do my best to leave as long as possible in the end for your questions, because I know that there are always many questions in your mind. So I'll leave as much as I can to the end for you guys to speak, okay? So never mind about the Q&A, because we don't have the Q&A, but we will have a Q&A in the end where I'm going to answer your questions. And please, if it's not too much trouble, turn off your microphones during the presentation, because sometimes there's a little bit of background noise and it will take my attention a little bit. So let's start this. First of all, with a disclaimer. So I just need you guys to understand that this is a webinar that's made with the purpose of providing information for educational, for guidance purposes, okay? This is not legal advice. I am not a solicitor and I'm not a barrister in this country. So please do not take this as legal advice, okay? I do research a lot. I like to think that I am a good student, that I like to study my passions a lot, but I may, I don't know, say something that is not 100% correct. This is very unusual, but nobody's free of this. And the best place for you guys to find the very up-to-date information about immigration is always the official website, okay? So the Immigration Service Delivery website is the place that you guys always have to go first when you're looking for up-to-date information. So this presentation is being done now in February 2022. Today is the 16th. Next week, all this can change, okay? So always keep an eye in the rules, because they sometimes do change, okay? Now let's start our content. So the third level graduate program, guys, I really love this program. I think it's a beautiful program. And every time I think about this program, I think about a bridge. That's why I put this beautiful Irish bridge there in the slide, because this program is a bridge program. The bridge program is a program that will lead you guys from one point to another point. So I always say that I like bridges, I don't like walls, and this programs is literally a beautiful way for you guys to make sure that you have a chance into building a career for yourselves in Ireland, if that is what you wish to do, okay? So the intention of the program is definitely to allow the non-EU students who are residing in Ireland, studying in Ireland, to stay here in Ireland, to work here for whoever employer, and allow them to build up network expertise for them to get a longer term career in Ireland through an employment permit. So you guys, when you finish your course, if you're finishing a level 8 course, so undergraduate course, you can avail of the third level graduate program for 12 months. And if you are finishing a course that's level 9 or upwards, so a master's degree or a postgraduate diploma or something like this, I don't know the name specifically, we have so many types, but you always have to check the level of your program, okay? So if your program is a level 9, then you can avail of 2 years of the third level graduate program. If your course is level 8, then it's a 12 months period that you can have your permission as a third level graduate program holder, okay? So guys, as I said, the purpose of this program is to connect you guys from a student, full-time student, to a full-time professional, okay? So this is a connection between the stamp 2, which is the stamp that you are at the moment holding, at least I hope you are all holding at the moment, to a stamp 1, which is the professional stamp that will lead you guys to permanent residency or to citizenship, or even to build a career that's going to be longer than 1 or 2 years in Ireland. Okay, so in order to qualify, what do you have to do? Who do you have to be in order to qualify so you can avail of the 3rd level graduate program? So first of all, guys, you need to be a stamp 2 holder. Okay, so if you're a stamp 2A holder, for example, you cannot avail of the program. If you are a stamp 1 holder because you have a permit and then you decide to move away from the permit and go back to studies life, be careful, because you cannot do that. You have to have a stamp 2 for you to be able to apply for a stamp 1G or to apply for the 3rd level graduate program. So you need to have a stamp 2. You need to have a valid RP card. Okay, so please be aware and make sure that your card is always updated. Okay, guys, don't let it expire. If you are going to apply for the 3rd level graduate program, please make sure that all your documents are absolutely in order. Okay, you have to apply within 6 months from your course conclusion. Now, this can be tricky because we don't have any specific date, if it is from the date that your results are released, your final results are released, or if it is from the date that you graduate. So I always say to students, always count as the date that you are made aware of your results. So the date that you have confirmation that you are going to graduate your course. Okay, I passed everything. I am now meeting all the requirements that I need to meet to be awarded with my degree. So we will put that date as the date that you guys have to put in your calendar. And from that date, you count 6 months. And that's your deadline for your application for stamp 1G. Okay. Many students think that they have to apply straight away. But if the results come out, I don't know, the 30th September, I have to apply in the same day. I have to apply. No, you can wait until October or November, as long as you have a valid stamp 2. Okay. Please remember that you cannot have an expired RP card, but we're going to talk about this in a little bit too. Now, in order to qualify, you also cannot have more than 7 years as a student in Ireland. Okay, guys, you cannot pass that deadline. So if you are a student who did, for example, an undergrad course, and then you avail already of the 3rd level graduate program for 1 year, and then you joined a master's for 1 or 2 years, now be careful, because you are there in the 7 years limit. So you have to pay attention and you have to observe the dates correctly, not to be refused for your application if you are past the 7 years. Okay, you must be of good character, so please, guys, do not get in trouble. Okay, do not do anything wrong. Always be on the right side of the law, and authorities will really look into everything every time they renew a student's visa, even for another stamp 2 or for stamp 1G, or even to apply for a permit. They always check if you are being good for the country. So always keep that in mind. All right. And the last one there, you have to be successful in your studies. Okay. You cannot come to Ireland and then fail your course and not achieve the degree that you are here to achieve and still apply for the stamp 1G. You definitely cannot do that. And also you cannot apply for one course and finish another course and then apply with that other degree for the stamp 1G. I get this a lot. A lot of students, they come to me, okay, but I enrolled for a master's, but I will finish as a postgrad, for example. Can I apply for the stamp 1G as a postgrad? No, you can't. Why? Because you enrolled there in the first place in a master's. So you have to conclude your course. You have to achieve the degree that you said there in the beginning a year ago that you are going to finish. Okay? Always remember, guys, that when you register there in the Berkey office, when you go there to do your registration appointment, you provide the officers with information about the course that you are doing. Okay, so they know if you are going to enroll to do a master's or a postgrad or a PhD or whatever it is. All right, so that's the course that you have to finish successfully in order to meet the criteria to apply for the 3rd level graduate program. Okay. Am I going too fast? No? Okay. It's good to see the faces because the faces don't lie. Good, good. So let's talk a little bit about the application, because a lot of students get really anxious. They don't really understand how long they have to do this in advance. They don't understand what are the paperwork that they have to provide. Guys, the application for the stamp 1G, which will be the stamp that's given to the student once they are successful in their application to avail of the third level graduate program. I know this may sound super complex, but I will put in very easy words in a minute. Okay, so please stay there with me. So if you are a student who finished your course successfully, you then can apply for the third level graduate program. Once that application is accepted, they are going to issue you with a stamp 1G. So remember that stamp 2 that you used to have, that you guys currently have, that stamp 2, the stamp 2 is the stamp that is indicating that you are a full-time student. So you're going to move from the stamp 2, from a student, to a stamp 1G once you are availing of the third level graduate program. Okay, when they say stamp stay back visa, they are actually referring to the stamp 1G. Okay, guys. Now the stay back visa is a nickname. It's not an official name. So if you go to the website of the immigration, you're not going to find anything about this program as stay back visa. It's just a nickname that students ended up creating for this program, and many of you will know and talk about this program as stay back visa, but now you know that the stay back visa is actually the stamp 1G. Okay, and the stamp 1G is the permission given to all those students who are now availing of the third level graduate program. Okay, I hope this was a little bit more clearer. So what do you have to do? Well, first of all, that will depend on where you are. Okay, so if you are residing in the Dublin area by the time you finish your course, okay, when I say the Dublin area, I say Dublin County. Okay, so 99.9% of you guys will be residing in that area because that's the closest commute to UCD. So if you are residing in the Dublin area, you have to do your application online. Okay, this will be a renewal application. And then you say, no, that's not a renewal because I'm not going from stamp 1G to stamp 1G. I'm going to from stamp 2 to stamp 1G. So I'm not going to be renewing. That's a new one. Yes, I know, but they still call this renewal, okay? Because you are renewing your permission. You are changing the type of permission from stamp 2 to stamp 1G, but you are still renewing your permission, okay? So for you guys who are residing in the Dublin County, online application. If you live outside of the Dublin County, then you have to book an appointment, or if you're living in Cork, for example, then it's just a walk-in to the Garda station. But you have to go there in person and you have to bring all the documents for your application. And then if you are not in Ireland, by the time that you want to apply for a permit, for your permission, for your stamp 1G permission, you cannot apply. Okay, guys, you cannot apply for stamp 1G from abroad. That's absolutely not possible. This is a question that I get a lot. For a period of time last year, they said that they would allow that, and they actually did because of the pandemic, okay? But that's not going to happen anymore, at least until something else happens. But the information that we have is for you to apply for a stamp 1G, you must be residing in Ireland, all right? So what do you need? So if you are going to apply from the online portal, or if you're going to the Garda station to do your application because you're outside of Dublin, you need your passport. But if you are going to do online, you're just going to upload a copy of your ID page for your passport, a copy of your IRP card, a copy of your health insurance that must be bought in Ireland. Okay, guys, we cannot use for the stamp 1G the renewal of your home country health insurance anymore. Okay, it needs to be one that is purchased in Ireland. All right. You have to provide your statement of final results, because remember that you have to prove to the officers that you have finished successfully the course that you enrolled a year ago, okay? And you need to pay the €300 fee. So guys, as you can see, it's not too many documents. Your passport, RP card, health insurance, proof that you have graduated. Pay your fee, done and dusted, okay? If everything is okay, they are going to process your application, and then they are going to issue you with a stamp 1G that will be sent to your house. You're going to have a new RP card that instead of saying stamp 2, you'll say stamp 1G. All right, it's a very, very easy application to be made. The only issue that we have here sometimes is timing. Sometimes we have, for example, a student whose RP card is going to expire a week or two before the final results are released. So they come to me absolutely desperate, saying, Lara, my RP card is going to be expired when I get my final results. How am I going to apply with an expired RP card? And that's when I come in and I say, it's okay. All right. I have confirmation from the Department of Justice to say, if it is a reasonable gap of time, okay, so I'm talking about a week or 2 or 3 weeks, and the student could not apply only because there was a document that was essential to the application pending, it's fine if the card is expired for a few weeks, okay? So if that's your case and you are already thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do in September? Do not worry, okay? They are quite reasonable. They will understand that you did not apply before because you were waiting for your final results. If it is a reasonable gap, okay? If your card is expiring in February and you do not apply until September, you are in trouble, okay? Now, as a note here, passports are no longer stamped for renewals, okay, guys? So please do not try to send your passport by post to the immigration officers, okay? They don't want your passport. They really don't want it anymore. They did it in the first year, but that was only in the first year. It was not good. The process was not good for them. It was not good for the students. So this has changed, and you do not have to post your passport to the Berkeley office anymore, okay? You just upload the photo of your ID page, and that's it. No stamps in your passport anymore. Now, can I work under a stamp to permission? Yes, you can. You can work. You can work full-time. You can work full-time all year round. You don't have to be just thinking about June, July, August, September as it is on the stamp 2. Okay, so you can work all year round, and you do not have to apply for any further permissions for you to work if you have a stamp 1G. Okay, guys, many students think that they can only have a stamp 1G if they have an employment permit that will allow them to work. No, the stamp 1G is exactly for you not to be in need of any sponsors, any permissions that will go beyond the permission that will be given to you by the Department of Justice once you apply with all the documents that we're just talking about right now, okay? Now, what will happen to those students who are going to avail of 2 years of third level graduate program instead of only 1? Well, in this case, you guys are going to have a few paperwork for you to renew your stamp 1G, okay? So if you're availing for 12 months, then that's it. You're going to have a card that will say 12 months. Once that's done, if you do not find another way to stay in Ireland, lovely, it is your time to leave the country, okay? If you are availing for 2 years, you're going to get 2 12-months permission, okay? Nobody gets 24 months permission. That does not exist. So you get 12 months, and then after 12 months, you have to go and you have to apply again. Now, in your second application, so in your renewal of Stamp 1G, you just have to show them that you are looking for a job actively, okay? So how do you do that? If you have an active LinkedIn profile, if you are, for example, you can take screenshots of your applications when you say applied for the job or applied for the role. I don't remember how it is these days, but it's something like this. And if you have interviews being booked, or the email confirmation saying, thanks for applying for the role, or please, your interview is this day. All this is proof that you are looking actively for a role in Ireland, okay? If you already have a role, you just make a copy of your contract to show them that you are already working, and all fine. I have never seen too many difficulties in anybody renewing for the second year of Stamp 1G, okay? Now let's put down a few myths. I don't know how to say this word actually. This TH in the end there of this word is super complex for me, but I hope you guys know what I mean. The myths. Okay, so let's talk about your Stamp 1G permission. So the Stamp 1G permission, it's a tricky one only for the name, because there are two types of Stamp 1G in Ireland. There's the Stamp 1G permission that comes from the third level graduate program, which is the one that we are talking about in this presentation. And then we have another type of Stamp 1G permission, which is the Stamp 1G that's given to the spouses or dependents of critical skills employment permit holders, okay? That is a different type of Stamp 1G. All right, so always pay attention when you find an information about Stamp 1G that doesn't sound really right, or that sounds a little bit different from everything that you're hearing in this presentation. Make sure that you are reading about the right Stamp 1G, which is the graduate one and not the spousal permission, okay? So there is no need for you to have an employment contract for you to apply for the Stamp 1G, okay? Oh, Lara, I couldn't find a job yet. How am I going to apply to the Stamp 1G? You will apply, because the whole purpose of the Stamp 1G is to allow you to actually look for a role, to start in a new role in Ireland, okay? So nobody needs to have already a job. You can stay in Ireland 2 years and not work for your area of expertise. That happens, okay? It's unusual, but it does happen. You do not need to be sponsored, okay? So, oh, my employer doesn't want to sponsor my Stamp 1G. Oh, that's too bad, because we don't need his sponsorship, okay? The sponsorship for work permissions in Ireland are for the employment permits, not for the Stamp 1G. Okay, a student who is entitled, who meets the criteria to avail of the third level graduate program, is independent. You do not need to be sponsored by any employers, okay? No need to work in your area of studies, okay? Many students also think, oh, I wish I could work for Lidl, but I can't because I have an engineering degree and I'm on a Stamp 1G. You can work for Lidl, you can work for whoever, whichever employer, okay? It does not have to be in your area of expertise, but you must be looking for something on your area of expertise, okay? So when you are going to apply, for example, for your second year of Stamp 1G, do not provide them with job application confirmations for your role as something that's nothing at all related to your degree, okay? It's important that you at least try to get into your area, but you can have a different job in the meantime. You can have a different job just to keep yourself going. You can have a different job to pay for your bills while you're looking for something that is more related to your expertise, okay? No permission for dependents, okay? So many students also think that once they finish the masters, for example, and they get the Stamp 1G, they can bring their children or their spouse to Ireland. No, guys, that's not possible, okay? The Stamp 1G for in many aspects is seen by the state as a student permission, okay? So that's why you still cannot have your dependents joining you in Ireland unless they have their own right of joining, okay? And that time that you spend on Stamp 1G does not count towards reckonable residency rights in Ireland, okay? So, and every time I say that, there's always somebody very angry at me saying, you are wrong, I've heard, I read, yes, I know that if you go there to the website, you're gonna see that Stamp 1G count towards application for citizenship because it's reckonable, but that Stamp 1G that they are talking about is not the graduate one, okay? Is the one that's related to the spouses of the critical skills permit holders. Please do not make this confusion, all right? The stamp 1 permission, guys, is a different permission. So remember when I was telling you that the stamp 1G is a bridge program, is a bridge permission. So it has the purpose of connecting you guys from the stamp 2 to the stamp 1. What's the stamp 1? The stamp 1 is the stamp that everybody who wants to stay in Ireland and does not have family relations in the country wish to have, because this is the stamp that will allow you to work full time. So the stamp 1 is the stamp that comes to you only, okay, in your situation, your current situation. It will only come to you through critical skills, general employment permit, or a hosting agreement. Those are the 3 options for the students who are already in Ireland, who have finished their studies in Ireland. There are other types of employment permits. Yes, there are, but none of them will apply to you, because, for example, you would have to be an employer for a company outside of Ireland and would be transferred to Ireland. So that does not apply to your circumstances, okay? So in your circumstances, the stamp 1G will come to you through those 3 possibilities. Either a critical skills employment permit, a general employment permit, or a hosting agreement. So that is the final step of your study/career in Ireland when it comes to immigration, okay? Now, do you need to apply for the stamp 1G before you apply for critical skills, for example? No, okay? And I once had a student who said, the employer wanted to apply for critical skills, but I told them that I couldn't, because I have to have the stamp 1G first. And I wanted to cry. I really wanted to cry, because the student missed a brilliant opportunity to have a critical skills, which is the most amazing possible professional permission for someone in Ireland, because of lack of information, okay? The stamp 1G, guys, is a bridge, is a present. If you don't need the bridge, you don't need the bridge, okay? If you are so lucky to, by the end of your studies, there on your stamp 2, have an employer that says, I will actually sponsor you, and you can go straight away to a critical skills employment permit, go for it, okay? That's amazing. If that's what you want to do for your career, for your life, go for it. Now, I just want to make a very, very important observation here. If you are finishing your stamp 2 time, so you are finishing your course, and then your employer wants to offer you a general employment permit or a hosting agreement, in this case, you have to be wise, okay? So everybody says that we have to learn how to be strategic, and I had to learn how to be strategic many times in my life, so I will share this with you. If you are going for a hosting agreement or general employment permit, make sure that your contract with either of those are longer than your period of time that you would have on stamp 1G. Okay, I'll tell you why. If you finish your master's, how long you have on stamp 1G? 24 months, right? If you have a general employment permit for 1 year, okay, when you finish your 1 year of general employment permit, what are you going to do? Lara, I'll go back to my stamp 1G and get the 1 year left. No, you won't. Remember, guys, that I told you things like, first, you have to have a stamp 2. If you go to a general employment permit or to a hosting agreement, you don't have stamp 2 anymore. You have stamp 1. Remember when I told you that you have to have maximum 6 months after you are made aware that you're going to get your award. So if you pass that timeline, you're not going to be granted your stamp 1G. Okay, so please, guys, do not waste your 24 months on stamp 1G over a 6 months general employment permit or a 6 months hosting agreement or a 1 year if you could avail of another year. Okay, because I have many students doing this, and then when they come to me, I have unfortunately nothing to do to help you guys. So always make sure that if you are skipping your stamp 1G, skip it for a contract that is longer than the period that you would have on your stamp 1G, because once you move from your stamp 2 to your stamp 1, there's no turning back. Okay. Now, I think this is the most important information that I had to give. So just final considerations. Guys, I am part of UCD Global. I am part of the Global Experience team. So please follow our social media because we have a lot of information for non-EU students. We do a lot of events and we release a lot of nice content. So please follow us. And thank you so much for being here. I know it's late. It's almost 7 already and everybody's tired already. It's Wednesday. It's a long presentation. It's a lot of content. So I'm sorry if it was too long and too boring, but I really tried to give you all the information that you need. And please join our Facebook group if you didn't. Okay, so we do have an immigration group and I will confirm if we will be doing 2 other events related to this. So we're looking to do employment permit webinar and an employment permits workshop in the coming weeks, but I will confirm and then we're going to spread the information on our social media if that will happen and on those confirmed days. Okay, so I will stop sharing my screen and then we go for the questions.
Lara, thank you very much. The one thing I can tell you is that it was not boring and it was not in any way poor. It was a terrific presentation, as I knew it would be. There have been a number of questions in. Some of them are quite personal, and I'm inclined not to go to the personal ones, to go to the more general questions. And people can contact you directly. Isn't that correct?
Yes,
in
absolutely.
UCD Global. So if somebody has an issue, rather than talking about somebody's specific details, you can go straight to it. I'm going to continue to record for the moment because I think some of the questions will be valuable in the recording afterwards. The first question I have is a simple one. One was, can we get a copy of the slides to distribute to students afterwards? Would that be okay?
I'll think about it.
Okay, fair enough. The recording will be up there anyway, so people will be able to see it. The other question was an interesting one, which I thought was, what was the minimum duration for the insurance to be purchased? Because they have to show health insurance when they apply.
Yes, the insurance has to cover their intended period of permission. So if you are going to use a veil of 12 months, so if you have an insurance that's going to be less than that time, your permission is only going to be given to you to that time. Okay, nobody will give you a 12 months permission if you only have 6 months health insurance. So make sure that your health insurance covers your intended permission time.
And because if you have a level 9 qualification or a level 10 qualification, you can stay back for 2 12-month periods. You simply have to show the insurance at the end of year 1 for the next year. You don't have to show 2 years, do you?
No, not at all. Because also you're going to have to renew anyways after the first 12 months. So you're going to have to show it again. So you go with your health insurance every year and that should be okay.
Some of the questions I think you've already answered. Do you have to have a job ready before you apply for the Stamp 1G? No, you can apply without having a job.
That's against the whole purpose.
Does the Stamp 1G allow us to engage in business activities? I think what that question means is, can they set up their own business and work for themselves? It doesn't. You must work for somebody, not for yourself.
Yes, you cannot do that unless you have a Stamp 4, guys, or if you are an investor. Like there are a few programs like entrepreneur, I don't know how to say the word, investors, then you can. But if you are a Stamp 2 holder, you cannot. If you are a Stamp 1G holder, you cannot. If you are a Stamp 1 holder, you cannot. Okay, you can only be your own. You can only be self-employed from Stamp 4 upwards.
Okay. Although interestingly, and it just relates to what you were saying about, some companies sponsoring directly into the Stamp 1 period. I run a series on Thursday nights called Skills for Working Life. And if you'll excuse me, I'll just plug that now. It's a brilliant series where we bring in employers to talk about aspects of graduate development and working life afterwards. And we had a company on last week, and they were asked directly, do you sponsor people all the way through, not the Stamp 1G? And they said, yes, we do. So I think, you can be surprised sometimes when companies will do this if they've got a reason. Someone else asked the question about, if somebody had a degree result coming in by the end of August, when they can apply for their Stamp 1G once they know what their results are going to be. But it takes 6 to 8 weeks for that to come through. if the company wants me to start working in September, how does that work? Can I start working for the company, or must I wait, or what does that work?
Okay, so guys, very important. Okay, very, very important. So what happens? You know that if you have a valid stamp 2, you can work full-time June, July, August, and September. Okay, so if your company wants you to start working full-time the 1st September, you're fine, not because you're going to be granted a stamp 1G, because they don't know if you will, but because you're covered by your stamp 2. Okay, now, once you are issued with your stamp 1G, you then change from one stamp to the other. But if you don't have your stamp 1G issued by the 30th September, you cannot work full-time, because your rights to work full-time under your stamp 2 are only up to the 30th September. So in the 1st October, you have to go back to part-time hours. Okay, you have to go back to 20 hours. And then in the day that your new RP card is issued with the stamp 1G, then you can go back to 40 hours. Okay, that is the rule. Okay, technically, this is what should happen. Nobody should work more than 20 hours after the 30th September if they do not have a stamp 1G permission. Okay.
And is this an issue that's come up before, Lara? I mean, I know some students get results late in the early autumn. They get them at the end of September or at the end of August, and this is obviously an issue every year. And
every year we have dozens of students very upset because they have to go back to part hours. But you know, in my experience, what happens is that the employer doesn't care as much as the students think that they will care to put that employee back to part hours temporarily, especially because these employers are usually big employers. They don't mind if out of the 4,000 workers, they have 10 who will be working for part-times instead of full-time for 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So, but yeah, that's every year is we have this issue. Yeah.
No, it is ringing bells in my head as well.
Yeah.
The other question was, beg your pardon, the critical skills employment permit is only through an employer. I mean, I think I can answer that one. I think the answer is yes. I think that's the whole point of the critical skills pathway, and that's not unique to Ireland. I worked in New Zealand for a while, and that was exactly how the critical skills pathway worked there as well. Someone was asking, what is a hosting agreement?
A hosting agreement is a research contract. So the hosting agreement is a type of employment permit that's not issued by the Department of Business like the others. Okay, this is issued actually by the university. So UCD, HR is the one that will issue hosting agreements, and then with that documentation in hand, the applicant goes and gets their stamp 1. So this is mostly for students who are finishing PhDs, students who are going to dedicate themselves to research and to work as a researcher in a researcher capacity.
Postdocs, yeah. And the other question was, what is the duration of a stamp 1? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that one.
The duration is as long as your contract is valid. So if you are on a critical skills, you have to have at least a 2-year contract. So you're going to be given also 12 months, and then you have to renew for another 12 months. But then when you turn 21 months working on a critical skills, then you can apply for stamp 4, which is the ultimate freedom. But the general employment permit, if you have a 6 months contract, then your permission is going to be a 6 months permission up to 5 years.
I thought that. Does the stamp 1 count towards citizenship? I don't know. Does the stamp 1 count towards citizenship? I think it does. Yeah. Now stamp 1G doesn't, but stamp 1 does.
Yeah, that's it.
And somebody was saying, in case I get a permit job and they sponsor me to change my stamp from stamp 2 to stamp 1, this can cancel my PhD program. I don't quite understand that question. I think that person is here as a student, but then is sponsored to is sponsored into a job through a critical skills pathway or whatever. I don't know, but I would simply presume they would step out of their student iteration. Is that correct?
going or mine
Okay,
going?
we're broken up, have we? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
it says my connection is unstable, but I don't know.
I think
But I got the question. I understand the
Okay.
question. It's a question that I actually also get a lot. Students might think like this: if you have a stamp 1, you have to work full time, and then you can study part time. If you have a stamp 2, you study part time. You study full time, so you can only work part time for the most of the year. So if you're gonna have a stamp 2, then you are mostly a student who works on the side. If you have a stamp 1, then you are a professional who studies on the side. Okay, so can you be a critical skills holder and do a PhD? Best of luck to you.
Probably not.
But that's going to be really hard.
It's either that or you're going to be a PhD student for a very long time.
Exactly, like 15 years doing your PhD. If that's not a bother for you, then, well, it's not my business, but yeah.
Very good. One question about moving addresses while applying for stamp 1G. I presume this happens all the time.
Yes. Moving addresses, you mean from Dublin, outside Dublin?
Yeah, I presume me moving out of one rental property into another rental property, because that's what happens.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, you just have to provide your address when you sorry, the voice is going. when you fill out your form, then you provide your new address. Now, if you guys have to remember that if you registered in Dublin for the first time, if you are renewing outside of Dublin because you moved from County Dublin, then you cannot go back to County Dublin just to apply for your renewal. You have to always apply where you are residing at the moment of the application.
Sure. There's a question here that I think I can answer, so you can correct me. It's around applying for stamp 1G. The employer may need the visa as soon as possible, as soon as I finish my master's in the end of August. What's the best time for me to apply for the stamp 1G? I think the best time for you to apply for your stamp 1G is as soon as you get your results. That's the earliest time you can possibly do it, and that's when you should do it. And it leads into the discussion we just had about working until the end of September the 30th, and then after that working part-time until the stamp 1G comes through. You might be lucky, it might come through quickly.
Yeah, just one piece of advice here for students who are fearful, because I worked with the employer. I understand sometimes the employer is a bit hesitant because they don't know if you are going to get your stamp 1G. So the student says, but I will get my final results and I will pass and I will get my stamp 1G. And they are like, not sure if you will or not, because who guarantees the employer that this student is a good student, that they are going to succeed their exams, that they're going to pass everything, so if you sense that this is something that's coming from the potential employer, there are ways that you can try to reassure them, providing for example, your previous results, to show them that until this point, all the results that you have until this point are very successful. We have to understand that in their minds, they don't know the student as well. So it is the job of the students always to be very well informed, to know their rights, to know their duties, and to provide information where possible. And one of the information that might help students to be granted the opportunity while stamp 1G is being processed is to provide the employer or the potential employer with information about their educational background.
I think that's a good idea. I think employers like to see consistency. So if you've got, for example, if you're doing a postgraduate program and you can say to the employer, look, I achieved a good grade, a good standard in my previous university in my home country. Now that I'm here, I'm continuing to do that. That gives them a pathway. They're always reassured by continuous results over the time. Somebody else here was asking about their insurance, if it still had 5 months to run at the end of their program. I think that's not really relevant. I think the important thing is that when you're applying for the stamp 1G, that you've got 12 months coverage from this point out. And I think Lara has frozen again. And I think she can hear me, but we can't hear her.
I lost you.
Did you lose me there?
No, I totally lost you, Mark.
Okay, just the question was around if I got to the point of applying, but I still have 5 months left on my insurance. I don't think that's relevant. I think they have to have 12 months for the entire Stamp 1G. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you'd need to extend that insurance in order to be able to use it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How common is it for employers to offer health insurance with employment? That varies. It depends on the employer and the sector. Some do, some don't. Someone else asked about my Skills for Working Life program. You can find all the details for that on our Instagram account, or indeed on our website. And please do sign up. It's still open. And Stamp 2G, but fortunately get a PhD program. That again comes into, I'm not going to ask you to answer that because I think that's a personal direct question they can take up with you. If I want to come back 1 year later to stay or work for the next 1 year, how do I go about it? I don't think you can. I think if you leave Ireland at the end of your studies or the end of the first year of your Stamp 1G, that breaks the cycle and you're not able to come back. Is that correct?
You are able to come back as long as you respect the rules. So you must apply within the 6 months from the day you were made aware, and you have to have a valid stamp too. So if you graduate and then you go off to your home country and never comes back, or comes back 8 months later, don't bother. That's not going to be approved. Yeah. But if you go and you spend 3 months and then you can come back with a valid stamp too, and then apply, then you can. Okay, you don't have to be here for the whole time, but be mindful of the requirements.
Absolutely. Lara, I'm going to stop it there because it is now 18:55 and we've taken up too much of your evening. I'm just going to stop the recording. I want to say thank you very much. I want to acknowledge that on the recording. It was a terrific session as ever, and I'm sure that the audience will agree with me in